Dean Merton, or is it Sean South, or is it Alexander Dean?
Let's just go with Dean.
Dean, you're very welcome to the Iron Mindset podcast. So for the audience listening at home, you are now our first pro wrestler. It's me digging back into my sordid past of a life. You were one of my teammates back in the day in Irish Whip Wrestling, so you're very, very welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much for scraping the bottom of the barrel when somebody much stronger cancelled.
Like, you know what? Like I've talked to you before. Like I had you on the short list of people I was looking for, but many people listening now were probably expecting. I was planning to have Eamon Hartford on, but again, right now, I'm sure by the time this rolls out, people know I've had him. But it looks like he's maybe after injuring himself ahead of his meet. So thank you very much for taking the podcast on short notice. And this is a conversation I was very much looking forward to having. So for a little bit of background, you and I trained together all the way back in 2004 at the Irish Whip Wrestling training facility in under a bridge
Under a bridge
in Fairview. So main question I want to start off with is, let's get a bit of background. Dean Merton, where is he from? How did he get started? And why pro wrestling?
Oh, okay. So where am I from? Grew up between Cabra and Ballymun. My mother's family's from Cabra. Kind of spent most of my summers in my granny and granddad's house. Spent weekdays in Ballymun. My ma was moved out there when I was 7. So what was that? 1995 or so. Lived there until me early 20s when I was actually able to rent my own place.
Yeah.
You lived as well.
Yes.
For a brief period of time, and we briefly hate each other because it's very hard to live with your mates, isn't it?
It's yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't think you did.
No,
I thought you were a great housemate.
I'm sorry. I'm just tetchy as fuck. So how did I end up wrestling? Grew up as a wrestling fan.
You were a fan, yeah.
Yeah. From Jesus, as long as I can remember, I used to always love watching a bit of wrestling on a Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, Saturday morning, whenever it was on Sky Sports or Sky One, actually, back in the day. Then when I was in secondary school, I met a fella by the name of Kev Metcalf. He was also a wrestling fan.
The Ballymun Bruiser.
Infamous Ballymun Bruiser, yeah. He came to me at some stage. I think I was in third year in secondary school.
Right.
And he just comes up to me and he says, "All right, buddy, found a wrestling school. You like wrestling, don't you?" I was like, yeah, I do love a bit of wrestling. And he says, "Do you want to join this wrestling school with me?" And he got the jump on me. He went and he scoped it out, and he'd already done about 2 weeks worth of classes, and he came to me and he said, "Do you want to join?" And I wish I had a more interesting story. Like, I wish it was like Spider-Man. I was climbing on a roof and I fell into a ring and I thought that I was really calling, you know.
You just got invited by one of the lads.
Literally just like one of the lads was like, "Here, you like wrestling, come and do a bit of wrestling." And I gave it a go and I was fucking atrocious.
You and me both. So like, looking back then, so like you were basically a fan of it growing up. Pro wrestling, the WWF at the time, World Wrestling Federation, most people probably remember. Shawn Michaels, I believe, was your favourite?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Still would be to this day. Yeah.
He shaved his head as well.
He did, yeah.
Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, The Undertaker, these are probably names most people listen, if they had a period of time they were into pro wrestling, remember, or if they're like, you know, if they're children that listen, John Cena.
Yeah.
Steve Austin, maybe?
I think it's only lads our age that listen to podcasts now, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, when you're just commuting to the job, you're like, my fucking guy, yeah. No, but like, I think that's the point. It's like, it's an interesting, I think the unique thing that Irish Whip Wrestling, just for those listening that don't understand the name of the wrestling school, the Irish Whip is when you grab someone by the arm and send them off the ropes and they spring back at you. It wasn't some weird fetish wrestling we were doing. It was the stuff you would have seen on television with people slamming each other and suplexing each other and things like that. All 100% fake. But still, that's the offensive word. That's the no word in pro wrestling.
No, I completely abide by the word fake. I'm into the word fake because it is fake. You know, people that take the hump over the word fake, oh, well, we're really athletes, but we're not really fighting each other, so therefore it is theatrics. And I hate when somebody who's involved in pro wrestling says, we're just as much a sport as anyone else. No, you're not.
It's not a sport.
Yeah, it's as much a sport as dancing is, and dancing's not a sport. And the reason, like, the fact that ballroom dancing is in the Olympics is hilarious, but here we are, you know.
Isn't skateboarding in the Olympics now?
No, surely not, is it?
Something bizarre is. In any case, we're gonna like, we're two of us on the fucking Google straight away. But like, coming back around, so am I right in saying then you and Kev, Ballymun Bruiser, didn't actually really know each other that well prior to this, or just like peripherally in school?
We were both from Ballymun, and we would walk generally in the same group of lads to school. We both went to Aiden's CBS in Whitehall. So Kev used to have to walk past my gaff, my block of flats, to get to school. So after a little while, there was a few lads, like 5 or 6 lads, that would all be kind of walking in the same group towards, and we kind of wait until we saw one coming, and then we'd walk down as a group or whatever, 5 or 6. So we did kind of know each other, but we weren't like best mates, and we were just kind of in the same peripheral group. And he was a year below me in school as well, so I'd see him on the way to school, and I might see him on the way home again, but that'd be about it. To say we weren't close, we just have the odd chin wag every now and again.
But again, I suppose he wanted a mate to come to pro wrestling, so you were the guy he saddled up. And then I suppose like from there, the rest is history. You came down to this little dinky hole in the wall that had a wrestling ring in it in Fairview. That was only very short-lived facility, given that there was a guy that like set it on fire and all that. But that's
yeah, remember that fire? Jesus. Yeah. Remember the stories that it was Fergal and Paul that set it on fire.
So for those listening, just to give a bit of clarity here, where the training facility was, the arches that like are like under a railway bridge, they like are sometimes like done as like units or garages. One of these was rented out. They fucked a wrestling ring in it, and that's where we all started training. And you could see the insulation of the wall that was
asbestos.
Yeah, asbestos was still exposed and all. But we were training there. But whatever way the other side of the track was set up, it was actually somebody's back garden. And in wrestling, we do an awful lot of what's called bumps or bumping. So this is how you learn to fall. And wrestling rings are made of fucking wood and steel. So when you hit it makes quite a loud noise. So it would be like 3 hours of like fucking 16-year-olds slamming themselves in the middle of a ring. So this was driving this lad absolutely crazy. This old guy that lived behind us complained, stuck a hose in the wall, tried to like flood the place out.
Yeah, I remember that now as well. We couldn't train for like a week because the place was flooded. Yeah,
that's right. And then ultimately resorted to, again, as far as we know, this is fucking long, this ancient history now, so it doesn't matter if I talk about it. Like it seems he hired a group of young lads to come in and set the ring on fire. So ring was damaged, obviously, so we changed facilities then. But the whole time, Dean and I are training together to try and learn the craft of pro wrestling. Needless to say, neither of us were naturals to it. Everyone kind of got labelled a nickname by one of the trainers. So you probably remember my cousin joined us. Mark Ace Card. He got the name Ace Card because he got everything right in the first time. I was initially named the Amazing Dead. There was a pro wrestler at the time called the Amazing Red, who was a phenomenal like lightweight lifter, did a lot of cool like moves, flips and things like that. I always almost died when I did anything, so I almost always landed on my head when I did a flip bump, things like that, or whenever I got suplexed or slammed, I was like millimeters away from killing myself. So that was where that name came. What was your name?
I didn't get one.
You never got one?
No, I never got one. I never actually.
You were
got
just
one.
Dean.
I was just Dean, yeah. For the entire time that I was in wrestling, until I got to NWA when I left Irish Whip a couple of years later, it was just Dean. Even when I went by the name Sean South in my first few wrestling matches, the first 6 or 7 years in wrestling, didn't turn into a nickname until somebody in NWA called me Southie, and then that just kind of stuck,
Well, I mean, first you were Shay O'Leary.
Oh yeah, remember that? I don't know why I thought that was a good name.
Well, so you and I were training probably for about 2-3 months or thereabouts, and we both made our debut in a battle royale in Cavan.
Were you in that one in Cavan?
We were in a ruckus crowd.
That was my birthday.
Was it?
Yeah, it was my birthday in 2004.
Yeah, September.
Yeah, so I would have been 16.
You lied about your age to join.
I did, yeah. So that was Kevo's fault. Ballymun Bruiser turned around and said to me, look, you can't join as a 15-year-old. You have to be 16. And he was a bit younger than me as well. He might have been still 14 at the time, but he looked older as well because he was a scabby looking bastard.
Everyone thought Kevo was dodgy and he was just like a kid.
Yeah, just some young fella from, like, he was real, like, I don't know. I wouldn't say he was soft, but he wasn't like the hardest lad in the block, like, you know what I mean?
No, he played it up, like he made a character out of it, in fairness.
Absolutely.
He did really well.
Absolutely. And he still has a hard to goal to this day. Like, he's not a dodgy character at all, but he does kind of play it up to, as a defense mechanism in some ways. But yeah, Kevo's a lovely lad, he has a heart to gold. But he said to me, I don't know if he wanted me to go along with the kind of lie he was telling, or if he genuinely thought that you couldn't join unless you were at least 16. But he told me that I had to be 16. And he just lied about his age, and he said, just do the same thing and just get your ma to sign the form, because even if you're 16, you have to have parental consent or whatever. So I said to him, that's fine, I'll do that. That's all well and good. It got to my birthday when I was going to actually turn 16, and I pulled him aside and I was like, right, Kev, look, I'm actually turning 16, but if you don't say anything and I don't say anything, I can just be 16 for next year. And if nobody asks when my birthday is, I can just stop lying about my age. And he was like, oh yeah, man, that's cool. Yeah, I'll do that. So I thought that was grand. Went to training like No, do you know what? The battle royal must have been before my birthday.
Right.
Because I was actually in training on the night of my birthday. And I said, look, don't say anything, then I can just stop lying about my age and it's all good from there. And he says, yeah, no bother, man, I got you. And we get through the whole training session. We're right at the end of the training session. And do you remember we used to do those chop circle things?
Yeah.
Where like everyone would chop everyone. And if you don't, like for people who are listening don't know, a chop is like an open hand slap in the chest. And if you've never had someone do it to you before, it stings like it doesn't actually damage you, but it just stings like fuck, you
Little
know?
blood bruises and a handprint on your chest. Yeah.
The first time I went training, like I didn't actually take part in the training session, I just went to watch. And the instructor, Blake, was like, do you want to jump in the chop circle?
I
was
remember.
Like, yeah, cool, I'll jump in. And I went home, my mom was like, you're not going back fucking there. Like, because I just had like burst capillaries all over me little pasty 15-year-old chest. You know?
That is like a core memory for me.
The chop circle.
You getting brought in for the chop circle.
Oh, really?
You watched the whole session.
Yeah.
And then he brought you in at the end. Because the first one like hurt.
Yeah.
But then you like stuck out for the rest. But that made you like a bit of a target then, you know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, as far as I remember, like I'm probably making up half of the memory now, but I remember you being on the outside and getting brought in for the chop circle and I was like, fuck you. Suffer like the rest of us. You know?
No, because I hadn't signed a little waiver thing, so I couldn't actually
Who was
join
that,
in.
Blake?
That was Blake. I didn't actually train under Blake once because between me going home and getting my mate to sign the form and actually going to the next week's training, there was those shows there was one in Mount Temple and there was one, it was Cavan or
That's
something.
when he was given the heave ho, yeah.
Yeah, and then I just showed up the next week and was like, oh, Blake's gone. Now we have Lee, this English
Butler,
guy.
Yeah. So just for people listening who may have no idea what the fuck we're talking about, there was the first instructor, the first teacher at the Irish Wrestling Training Facility was a guy named Blake Norton. Blake was trained allegedly by Stu Hart of the Hart family in Canada, in Calgary, which would be quite a reputable family in pro wrestling. And he claimed to have had X number 100 of matches. But it transpired later that these were just matches in training. He didn't really have that much experience practically in front of people. So he essentially lied his way into the job and was then axed when this was discovered. He was thrown on a couple of shows with a couple of English wrestlers, Doug Williams, Lee Butler, and was very quickly exposed for his inexperience. The lads naturally told Simon, the guy that owned Irish Whip, that Blake wasn't really up to snuff, and he was very quickly given the oust, and he was replaced by the middleman Lee Butler. So
yeah, it was an interesting character.
Yeah, absolutely, and he was our primary trainer then for like the bulk of our beginning in pro wrestling, I suppose. And then, if I'm right in saying, was your first match at the SFX? Your first proper match?
Yeah, my first proper match, aside from like little Mickey Mouse Battle Royals, was March 2005. Had a tag team match in the SFX, which was a beautiful venue.
Amazing venue.
We need more venues like that in Dublin now. Like the wrestling scene, the gig scene suffers from not having venues like the SFX. It's like a car park now. It's really grim to like drive past it. But I had a tag team match on a pre-show of this big super show. It was like one of the biggest shows in Irish history at that point. And I hadn't got a clue that I was wrestling until the morning of the show when I got a text from the promoter. And like looking back, what a bizarre message to get. He just texted me and said, I'm going to put you on the pre-show this afternoon at 3 o'clock. And this is like 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And he says, or Sunday morning maybe. And he says, do you have a boiler suit? And I says, do I have a fucking boiler suit? Now, the second gym that we moved into.
Ballymun, let's be honest.
Yeah, obviously, like, you know.
Boiler suit and a balaclava.
But yeah, boiler suit. No, he had the balaclava. That sounds like a setup for a joke, but it's actually not. So the second gym that we moved into was located in the same building as this old, disused mechanics. Yeah. And I always remember, I always wanted to get, there was like a Mini sitting there, like a Mini Cooper, like an old model Mini Cooper from like the 80s and the 90s, just sitting there. And I was like, I want to take that car. I want to take it. No idea who owned it. Like obviously the landlord had possession of it or whatever. But because it was in a mechanics, because there was a mechanics in the building, there was like these old mechanics boiler suits there. And it just so happened that I remembered, and now maybe he like well knew what was there and he was just testing me or whatever. But I remember like thinking, oh yeah, there's a boiler suit in the gym. So I got the keys to the gym and I ran down and I got the boiler suit. And he goes, oh yeah, Simon, I have a boiler suit. And then he goes, right, here's a balaclava. You're going to go out there and you're going to wrestle under the name Blagger Boy number 2 in a boiler suit with a balaclava on. And I said, okay. I said, am I in the Ra or something like? And he goes, no, you're just like, you're a sneaky thief, you know? He said, it's just a gimmick that we had in mind to give people experience, to just anyone can be a Blagger Boy, and it just gives you a match just to see how you get on. But I still played it like I was in the rat, to be honest with you.
Man, do you know what? So like for people listening, the Blagger Boy gimmick, the idea of it was you could put people who could potentially be somebody worth having on shows under a mask, hide their body so they could get a bit of experience in front of people first without having it associated with the character they might go on to become. So that was the idea of this. Or if we wanted one wrestler to work multiple matches on the same show, they could do like a Blagger Boy match and they could like change into their own gear and be their own character or whatever. So that was the idea of it. But yeah, it did lead to some like very much inadvertent comedy. I got to do it a handful of times. It's such fucking good fun, man.
So hard though to wrestle in that balaclava.
Oh yeah, roasting hot like.
Yeah, but I developed like an art to it. It wasn't even the roasting hot. The roasting hot was hard enough. It was the fact that it would slip around.
Yeah,
and you'd start bumping and it'd go over your eyes and you'd be trying to get up. And we were all doing stupid shit back then. People flying at you from all sorts of angles. And we hadn't really got a clue what we were doing.
Absolutely not.
So like you're wrestling blind while your mate, who's also some weirdo 16-year-old with probably like ADHD, is like launching himself off this like 4-foot platform trying to kick you in the face. And because of the way we were back then, he's trying to kick you pretty hard so it looks legit, But at the same, it was a disaster. But I got into the habit of before I'd go out and wrestle, I'd pull the thing as tight as possible and I just doused the top of it in water so I had a bit of weight to it, and then at least then if it slipped around, it wasn't going to like go all the way up over your face and cover your eyes,
Yeah, what a bizarre gimmick though.
I've often wondered, because he texted me about the boiler suit thing, did he know that the boiler suits were there, or was he just chancing his arms like, you know what? Someone has to have a boiler suit. I'll text that little weirdo. He must have a boiler suit.
Simon Ratchford is a character, man. I have no idea what he could have meant. He like, I don't even want to like guess on it. It's so long ago, so far removed from it. Yeah, I'm sure there's something extra in the message there that we're just not able to see. But you'd probably have to ask him.
He probably just talks to a little fat bastard. I must have had a bunch of different things to hide my body with, Yeah, he's probably got a boiler suit for like, when he goes out in the town with the lads, doesn't want to show off the fat guns.
That's like just your go-to outfit. But I suppose I said he provided the balaclava. I just don't know. Yeah, maybe, I suppose there's a bit of stereotype in there. The kid from Ballymun has the boiler suit.
But the thing was, I did it with Vic, right? Also one of my housemates, former housemates. And he had like a brand new boiler suit. He had went out and bought one. So he obviously got tipped off beforehand, and maybe it was supposed to be like a singles, and then Simon was like, I don't know, let's just make it a tag. Let's throw the other little bastard in it.
He did that in a fair bit, just change things. Like, I mean,
but he would have like it's also within his character that he would have tipped off some people and then just said to some other people like, oh, can you sort this out last minute? You know? He would have told, he liked Vic, so he would have told Vic about it beforehand, or Vinny or Manson or whoever, Yeah,
for sure. Like, so we're talking now SFX March 2005, fucking a lifetime ago. You worked the pre-show. I actually worked that show as well. That was one of my that was my first big match. I've had a match before that, but I got to wrestle Madman Manson. Second match on the card. Nearly fucking broke my knee on my entrance.
The knee. I remember that. Jumps over the top rope. Like the height of athleticism, like very few 16-year-olds back then could jump over the top rope, at least in our circle, you know what I mean? Yeah. He clears the top rope majestically.
It was a brand new ring.
Brand new ring, like so springy. He stamps down and he goes to run across to the middle turnbuckle to do the whole, hey, look at me, I'm class. And he takes one step and his left knee just goes.
Yeah.
And you can see the look of worry on his face and he hobbles across. And the crowd sensed it straight away. Because you jump down off the rope and you start kind of giving it a bit of a stagger step, and they laugh, and then I don't know if they must have just felt bad because you could sense the oh man, he's only a young fella and he's after bollocks in his knee in his entrance,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
do you know what? That got me over, not just with the crowd, but it got me over with Simon. I think because I nodded it off. I was like, yeah, because I'll start chatting, you fucked up.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I fucked up. You know what I mean? I fucking, this is right. I wore knee supports under my knee pads that I wouldn't have normally worn. I don't know if that was a factor or just when I leapt into the ring, I don't know if I was amped up because it was a big crowd and a big venue and I pushed into the canvas, or it was just the canvas was new and springy because the last one was fucking concrete. But do you know what? The handy thing is, by the time Manson actually came out, I was fine.
Yeah,
it was just a bit of a pain. But yeah, man, what a that I was very, very happy I didn't lose my shit under pressure there. That was definitely a tough one, but a fucking amazing experience. I'm glad you got to we both got to wrestle in that venue before it was destroyed. But rolling on then, off the back of that, Irish Whip Wrestling got its own TV show, which is bizarre thinking back, on Sky Digital on the wrestling channel, Whiplash TV. And if I'm not mistaken, you were in the very first match on Whiplash TV against Darren Burridge.
I was indeed.
Who not long before that became the new school trainer after Lee Butler left.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to, and I know Burridge had a lot of good things to say about you. You were somebody that, of everything, like we said at the start, neither of us were naturals, but you were there all the time. You're always grafting. You were always working with the trainers. You were there 4 or 5 times a week. You were there. Burridge would have said it a lot. You were there with him a good bit. Did a fair bit with him. And would I be right in saying he was one of the ones that was the voices that got you on that the first episode?
He probably was, yeah. Like I never had that confirmed. And again, I was the last one to find out about it. I was just told, bring your gear. There might be a match there for you. And I showed up and I saw the run sheet, like the order of matches for the show. And it was massive. There was, I think it was like 15 matches or something that day. And right up at the top, now I was supposed to have a Blagger Boy match later on and in the same thing. And I looked and I was like, oh, Blagger Boy match. Okay, that's cool. But then right up at the top, it was Sean South, Greg Burridge, first match. And it said like 6 minutes, you know, and then underneath it said like details, like make it like technical or whatever, like British technical style. And I was like, okay, cool. And I didn't realize until I was actually in the ring. So there's, what they're called now is like enhancement talent. Back in the day, we would have called them jobbers. It's basically someone whose entire role on the show is to make the person that they're wrestling look really good, you know? And in a TV taping environment, you would have a lot of these matches where you have a star and an enhancement talent, or a star and a jobber. And usually what would happen is the quote unquote jobber wouldn't have an entrance on the TV show, and you'd see a shot of the ring and they're already standing there, and you know, then the real star makes their entrance and they have the match, and usually the match is like 80% the star's offense and then maybe a little bit from the quote unquote jobber. And I remember like the show started, I think Kev was the ring announcer, Kev Rocks was the ring announcer, welcomes everyone to the show, says our first match, you know, my music plays, I walk down to the ring, I get into the ring, you know, and I'm standing there and Kev just goes, okay, first match, one fall. Mate, I'm already standing in the ring from Ballymun in Dublin. Sean's out. And I turned to the ref and I went, oh, I'm a fucking jobber. Okay. Because I didn't know the layout of the show. It wasn't very clear on the run sheet.
Yeah.
But the way myself and Greg had like talked about the match beforehand, it was really 50-50. And then he starts to walk down to the ring and I start thinking to myself, shit, this match is like half me, half him. Is this a jobber match? What do we do? The only thing we'd really like properly laid out was like a finish, but he said like, oh, we'll just trade holds until then and we'll get to our sequence or whatever. And I remember when it actually was aired on television, I watched it in your house at the time. And I remember like back then we used to all look at like the internet and see how people were receiving our thing. And it was our kind of matches, and there was like a fan forum in the UK and people like reviewed the show and everyone was like, show was dog shit, it was really bad, such bad wrestling. But there was a few people that were like, oh, really enjoyed that first match. Burridge and South put on like a nice technical match, very back and forth. Good to see like, you know, people trying to like chain wrestle and stuff like that. So I was chuffed with it. And I think that was because Greg was like he was a big proponent of me because I was in the school so often. And there was a lot of people who at the time in Irish Whip were kind of heavily promoted as the stars of the promotion that didn't turn up to training, either because they had jobs or because they didn't like Greg's style of training, or because they thought because they were already on shows they were above training maybe. And I think he used that, he maybe got into the promoters there and gave me that opportunity to show as an example to those guys, you know, if you turn up, if you listen and train, and if you apply yourself, good things will come to you. And that's probably why I ended up in that match, and that's probably why he kind of gave me as much of the match as he did when he didn't have to. He could have just went out there and kind of ate me up, you know? Yeah.
Well, do you know what? That whole story reminds me, or like kind of like, I suppose makes me reminisce about that period of time. And I suppose it's fair to say, like, firstly, I didn't have the internet back then. So I hadn't a fucking breeze. When the lads are talking about like forum drama or this post, hadn't a clue. Didn't know what anybody was talking about. Very, 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 like, especially in hindsight now, I'm very naive to a lot of things in life, but also particularly in that sphere. Like, there was so much like stuff I got dragged into when I was quite young that I had no idea what was going on. So just as you mentioned about the forum feedback, it is completely fair to say, I don't think anybody on those shows was in any way near the skill level required to put on a 1 hour television show. No. None of us. Like, I think my first match on TV was literally my fifth match, same. If even that.
Yeah, same.
So, and I will hold my hand up, but I was not a good wrestler. Like, especially for my first like year or so, I'm not saying I didn't have. So I think very early on, not so good. I think I hit a nice point about 3 or 4 months in where I was a good little bump monkey, so I could take good falls.
Yeah.
But I don't think my offense was good enough for TV. I don't think my understanding of like psychology was good enough.
We just hadn't got a clue what we were doing.
Exactly.
Like we were just copying stuff that we saw on TV and in tapes.
Ring of Honor.
And yeah, that was it. Like we thought we were kind of ahead of the curve because we were getting these tapes from American independent wrestling shows that people hadn't seen. And a lot of the people who were on those tapes went on to be really successful and are really good pro wrestlers. But we were just copying them wholesale. We were just being like, oh, that's a cool move. I'll take that.
Do you know, let me actually put it this way. It's bizarre now when you look back and see the freedom 15, 16, 17-year-olds had on this show. Like the wrestling was so like non-existent here, and none of us, even the people that were running it and putting the money into it, didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
So like I don't think I ever had like any major like oversight in my match. Like you were going to do this. It was all self-moderated. We could do the most ridiculous stuff, and that's what they were going to show.
And that was the thing as well. Everyone kind of had an equal voice as well, which was disastrous because there wasn't that many experienced people coming in for us to work with that could tell us like, oh no, the reason why you don't want to do this is because it doesn't work, or you want the crowd to feel this way about it instead of the way that you're thinking of it. We were just kind of given, here, you're going to wrestle him, try and keep it this length or less, and don't kill each other. And there you go. And that's why the TV show was a fucking disaster.
And that's pretty much exactly right. Like this went on all throughout the year of 2005. We'd have events someplace and we'd record like a couple of episodes wherever we were. And then these would air like weekly on the Wrestling Channel on Sky Digital. So the whole time, I suppose it's worth noting for anyone here that watches wrestling, the whole time ever present from the day we started up until your last day in Irish Whip, Sheamus was a part of our class.
Oh yeah,
which is who is obviously quite well known to anybody who's a fan of wrestling. He's been WWE champion. So I think he was probably somebody that could have probably realistically gotten away with a lot of things we couldn't, just because from day one, he was a big lad, big muscular dude, you know what I mean? So even if he wasn't making the best calls in the ring or wasn't the most naturally athletic, he could mask a lot of it behind, but he looks like he looks like his offense is good. He looks like he could beat you up, you know what I mean? Whereas we were fucking two little skinny teenagers, or skinny fat in your case, you know?
Skinny fat, spare tire.
No, straight up, like that's actually a very good point. In the course of this time, like in pro wrestling, there's a good emphasis on like looking athletic. Now, not everyone does. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I've been out of the game for fucking nearly 10 years. There's a good emphasis put on being athletic looking, though as time has gone on, they're kind of a bit more accepting of all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
As is always. But generally, it's if you're a male, I knew you said lifter. If you're a male wrestler.
You said lifter earlier on, I didn't correct you.
Oh, my
You said lightweight lifter referring to Amazing Red.
Lightweight wrestler. It's been a while, man. It's been a long time for me.
I know.
But like in any case, bigger is generally better. Whatever way it's going to. If you're going to be a big fat lad, be big. You know what I mean? If you're going to be in shape, be in shape. But like I think it's only in hindsight we can really understand like how much pressure these grown men were putting on us to look a certain way when we were like 16.
Oh yeah. It was borderline abusive, like, you know.
Yeah.
I remember there was one occasion we had a big meeting before a gym show. We used to just run small shows to get some experience.
Wars.
Yeah, gym wars, that's what they were called. But it was in the gym that we finally settled on was in Baldoyle, not too far from where I live now. And I'm just slowly giving your listeners my address here.
Yeah, they're like circling in, like they're honing in on your location.
Yeah,
you know,
this is
triangulating.
If they look at like your tagged posts on Instagram or something, they'll eventually be like, oh, he lives here. So we had this gym in Baldoyle and we used to charge people like $5 in, and it was just standing room only. There was no real like production put into it. We used to get changed in the gym and then carefully or quietly walk around the corner to the alleyway and then run in the same shutter as the crowd came in for our glamorous entranceway. But we had a meeting before one of these shows before, and I can't remember what the overall theme of the meeting was. I think it was just
We're all shit.
Yeah, we're all crap, you know. Simon wants to just air his grievances with a bunch of children who were making him money. And he, for whatever reason, like he just turned to me at about just past the halfway point of the meeting. And he just like, I'll never forget it. I was sitting at the bottom corner of the ring and he was on the opposite, not even the opposite, but like to the left-hand side of me, and he's sitting on the top. So he's like really looking down at me. And he goes something along the lines of, and you're too fucking fat. And I was just dumbfounded. And I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering this, but the whole room just went silent.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, you made some kind of like joke and remark back to him, and he was like, "You getting fucking cheeky?"
Yeah. No, that was a bit later on in the meeting when
Right.
I remember he said something along the lines of, stop being cheeky to the imports. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, you're being cheeky to the imports. And now the imports at the time were Drew, who again has went on to be very, very successful.
Mm-hmm.
Jay, who was less successful, a guy called Jay Phoenix, and a guy called Charles Boddington, who was like a manager. And they were all Scottish. They were all from the Glasgow area of Scotland, a promotion called BCW. And I thought that I had a really nice rapport with them. I'd wrestled all of them. I'd been involved in segments with all of them. And we got along really well. And I don't know if it was like he picked up an interaction that we had wrong, or he observed something, or they had said something. But I remember I said it to them afterwards. They were like, no, we really like you. I don't know what he's talking about. But he just basically said, stop being cheeky to the imports. And I just went, yeah, like always.
Mm-hmm.
Or he said, like, don't be cheeky to the imports. And I was like, yeah, like always. And he goes, shut the fuck up. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. But before that, he had thrown the jibe at me of like, you're too fucking fat.
Spare tire.
No, that was later on. That was how he ended the meeting. So
Right, get rid of the spare tire.
Yeah. So I was just dumbfounded that this man who was legitimately double my age, like he was in his mid-30s at the time and I was barely gone 16, had turned around and like essentially body shamed me in a not capacity, but yeah, in a hobby where like you are putting yourself out there. And like, I wasn't wearing Speedos at the time, but like a lot of people are gone out wearing Speedos. I was wearing like an amateur wrestling style singlet, which is quite form hugging or whatever. And I did have a spare tire because I was a really, really fat kid growing up, and I'd kind of got involved in GA and soccer before wrestling, so I'd kind of gotten skinny, but I still had a bit of a love handle situation going on. I had one of those sad bellies that looks like a fucking puffer fish, like, you know what I mean? No, like, don't get me wrong, like,
sad belly.
34-year-old me acknowledges that 16-year-old me looked fucking pathetic, but if I met 16-year-old me in the street, I wouldn't say it to them, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you have to discover that stuff yourself.
I think a big portion of this, though, is like, look at the day and age that it was. We didn't have a fly fit or a bend on or a fifth, I don't even know fucking gyms you have now, Fuse gym. We didn't have a gym literally around every corner the way we do now. You know, like, it's not like, it wasn't a norm. I remember like, I asked one of the lads, they were talking to me in the gym about diets. Remember we had that little bench press in the corner of the second gym?
Yeah.
Remember I was whacking out like 40 kilos thinking I was the man. And one of the lads was like, you need to eat like more protein and you need to like eat carbohydrates. And I was like, what's carbohydrates? They're like, I don't know, but eat more of them. But this is...
we didn't know, yeah.
But that's exactly what I mean. So as much as it might seem like a simple, like right now, sure, like, I mean, there's probably a lot less friction and barriers to participation for wrestlers to get in shape. But back then, this wasn't a thing. You know what I mean? Like, there was no gyms near me.
There was no gyms near me. And if I was to go to, let's say, the Ben Dunn gyms at the time, which weren't even branded as Ben Dunn gyms, they were, what were they called?
Jackie Skelly?
Not Jackie Skelly. They all had their own individual name, like Westwood and, not Westwood. West Point and Carlisle. The North one wasn't even built at this stage, but they cost like 700 quid a year. Like, you know, they were extortionate for a kid of 16. So I remember we used to have Seamus helping us out with like workouts, but to be fair, like at the time, Seamus didn't really know what he was doing either. He was just massive because he was massive and he played a lot of rugby and he'd gone to like his local gym and just done big guy stuff. He just copied the next biggest guy to him, you know? So he was trying to like give us programs, but like when you look back, they were dog shit because it was like, pick up these dumbbells and just do every variation of chest press and fly that you know, and then when your chest is sore, stop, you know?
Yeah, but it's what he knew.
That's exactly. He was only trying to help, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it was like we hadn't got as much information as like kids these days have, you know?
I do remember he loved cottage cheese.
Yeah, and he fucking stank because of it.
He'd get me cottage cheese, man. I remember that being a big thing. Like, that's just sticking out to me. Fucking cottage cheese.
And he used to set alarms for when he had to eat as well. Like, he was one of those lads.
But that's it. Like, if you think about the time, like, that was the thing. Meal time in anabolic windows, all this fucking bollocks was like a massive, massive piece of the puzzle, you know? So, at the very least, he was trying to do something, I suppose. He was trying to help us get
he was. He was absolutely like, and more like that. He has to be credited for that because he did genuinely just want us all to be in better shape so the shows would improve, you know? But we weren't like, it wasn't a surprise that when you tell a kid who's like skinny fat that he needs to like eat more protein and he only has a set of like York 5 kilo dumbbells and all he's doing is chest flies, that he's going to put on a few pounds because he's not really exerting himself that much with these workouts. And then he's trying to bulk up. So he's just eating more excess calories.
Yeah.
And he's getting those extra calories with like things that aren't necessarily very nourishing. Like he's trying to throw like chicken and pasta into them, and you know those horrible cement shakes out of Argos. I used to get York protein powder out of Argos, and my ma would like. She'd have a freak out. She'd be like, "Is that legal? Is that steroids, Dean? Is that steroids?" Like, yeah, ma, I got my steroids from Argos, and it's in powder form, and I shake it up, and that's how I take steroids. Like, yeah, that's thanks, ma. You know?
Protein powder back then really could have just been wall filling.
Oh, it was dog shit. It was absolutely terrible, man.
Like, you know, I don't think the young peeps nowadays realize how good they have.
Man,
it
without being that old guy, like they have it so good these days. Like they
You
can literally just like
whippersnappers.
yeah, but they can just get like class workouts online by just following any number of like YouTube channels, Instagram pages, just Googling, you know.
Johnny Candido 6 week. Johnny Candido's a powerlifter.
Right.
He puts up free programs.
Yeah, there's so much free information out there, and it's like macro trackers are free. I didn't know what a fucking macro was until 3 weeks ago.
Man, honestly, I fucking completely resonate with you. But I think that what we're really trying to highlight here is that it was essentially the blind leading the blind back then.
Yeah.
You know, and now don't get me wrong, I don't endorse whatever Simon said to you or stuff he said to me in the time I was there. It's fucking completely unacceptable, especially it's not just in the current climate of like, you know, us being more progressive and more tolerant and all that good stuff. But it's more so against like, if I now, as a fucking man in my 30s, I'm thinking about speaking to like a 15, 16, 17-year-old who's in the gym, even if they're fucking shit up, the first thing I'm going to do isn't start calling them fucking cheeky and retarded and fucking calling them names. I'm going to try guide the experience and also resonate with the fact you're a young lad. You probably are like, we're all a little bit fucking stupid. You know what I mean? We all think we know a little bit better. So I think he could have absolutely monitored that experience better, but I don't know the guy that well. I haven't spoken to him since like 2010 maybe. But even so, I would say that's probably the first time in his life he's ever been in control of something, like a big thing.
Yeah, more likely,
you know, all these people listening to him. So maybe there was like a bit of a power trip thing there. I don't know. But I will give him one caveat. You were a cheeky bastard.
Well, yeah, probably. That's the thing. Like, I'll hold my hands up and say that I have very little filter. And that's kind of only something that in the last like maybe 3 or 4 years I've learned to control. Even now, like when I'm like, I manage a gym and I do a lot of classes, like I do have a tendency to say things that I think are funny and some people take it the wrong way. Like, you know, like you're getting a group of people warmed up for a class and you're like, they're just standing around doing fuck all. And you're like, come on, like we need to get warmed up. Can you just grab a fucking bike? He's bleeding ages. And people take that to heart. And you're like, you can't take me saying bleeding age to heart, but some people do. Yeah. But that's, you know, everyone, like I've learned to moderate that a little bit better as I've gotten older because it's not about what you intend to say. It's about the impact that it has when it lands on someone. Yeah. And maybe at 6 a.m. being called a bleeding idiot because you didn't get on the bike fast enough isn't the best experience.
Yeah, they're like, I mean, they're showing up to like, what is it, a spin class? They're probably not happy to be there anyway. Like, whatever it might be.
Spin class.
Toddler for those in your day. So DSC is not a commercial gym.
No, it's not a
commercial gym. Just to rewind it back. No, like, and I can agree in so much as I do think it's worth moderating what we have to say and putting a bit of a filter on some things. Because firstly, not everybody needs to hear our opinions. You know what I mean? Especially not when you're fucking like 18 and you want to tell everybody else on the show that they're shit, you know? But I would also say, like, I would put it this way when it comes to speech, just based on what you said. I can only control what I intend with what I say. Mm-hmm. Now, I can moderate the message, try and deliver it to you in the most palatable way possible, but the intent is still going to be the same. If you're upset by that intent and how I delivered it, no matter how much I sugarcoat it, that's your problem. Yeah. You know, we don't have to agree. And like that, yeah, maybe telling people, come on, get on the bikes, don't be fucking idiots or whatever, first thing in the morning probably isn't the way to do it. But I think putting over the urgency of you need to take some agency here and start warming up because we only have a fixed amount of time for you to train. Just being here isn't the work. You need to actually move now. I think communicating that is fine. You know, don't waste my time, I won't waste yours, for sure. But like rolling it back, I remember years after, I'm going to skip ahead, I remember us talking to a promoter of another federation, another company I worked with, another group I worked with, Mainstage Wrestling. Guy, Lenny, said he really liked you, but you're a bit of a locker room cancer.
Yeah, I recall you telling me about that, yeah.
I would thoroughly disagree. Like right now, right, in powerlifting, I deal with contentious people all the time. Like I'm friends with Jake Brennan. He's probably one of the most contentious people there is, you know?
Comes off lovely in your podcast.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Depends on where he is in a cycle, but he's a great guy.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, but he doesn't mind upsetting people to get a bit of a reaction, right? And fair enough, maybe there was an element of that for you early on as well. However, I think if I was to wag the finger at wrestling for something, my God, man, like just fucking so many like precious fucking prima donnas that like, yeah, fair enough. Don't get me wrong, massive respect for what the lads do.
Yeah.
But like, definitely like some fucking really, really unchecked egos and very delicate self-perceptions in wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
It's like really, really needs to be dialed back in.
But it's like a beacon for those type of people.
For sure, yeah.
If you're a weird kid, you like weird things. Like all the lads like football, you know. They like if you're a rich lad, then you like rugby, you know what I mean? But if you're a bit of a weird kid and you didn't fit in with that crowd, you might just find yourself on your own on a Friday night and Monday Night Raw is on a replay on Sky Sports. And like, oh, this is interesting. Or like you're not playing football on a Saturday morning because you don't play for a team. And there's a bit of wrestling on Sky One. And you're like, oh, what's this? This is cool. And all of a sudden you find yourself kind of lost in this fantasy world with all these like slightly larger than life characters. Like they're not Spider-Man and Superman, but they're kind of close to it while still being humans. Like maybe we're taking the piss a bit with Undertaker, but you know what I mean? Like they're a bit larger than life and you kind of get lost in it and then you start becoming a fan of it. And then someone is like, and then so there's one level of weird is liking it, you know? And then there's another level of weird when you see somebody getting fucked around the gaff and, you know, bleeding from the head and you see all those videos. It's like, don't try this at home. And it's like this little Mexican lad's like, my knee is fucked and all this shit. Like, you know, and then you're like, oh, do you know what? I'll give that a go, you know?
Yeah.
So you're kind of filtering for the weirdest of the weird. So when people are like, oh my God, how is he so fucking strange? Like, no shit, he's strange. He's a pro wrestler. Like he's a strange fucking dude. Now, as the net has widened and there's more schools and there's more exposure to pro wrestling via the magic of like YouTube and stuff like that, there's less out and out damaging fucking weirdos in wrestling.
There's more normies.
Yeah, there's a few more normies. Like there's people that can hold down a job and stuff now, which is deadly, like, you know. Yeah. But you still do get people who are quite precious. And my it's not necessarily people have egos and they're precious that kind of annoys me. It's that if somebody has an issue with something that you've said, you're always the last person to know about it.
I remember that quote about pro wrestling. It's like the difference between football and pro wrestling is if you make a mistake on the football field, you'll be told the moment you walk back. If you make a mistake in pro wrestling, you'll be the last one to know in the locker room.
You'll be told when they sack you. They'll tell you like, oh, XYZ has this issue with you doing this and saying this. And one of my problems is that because I have such a shit filter from at the best of times, when these things accumulate, it'll be a series of things where you've said something that somebody doesn't like, or you've done something that somebody doesn't like, and nobody has ever turned around and said, hey, I'd prefer if you didn't say that or do that because it offends me in some way. But then somebody else will turn around, your promoter or whatever will turn around and be like, oh, sorry, I can't use you because these 3 people said they don't like you.
Yeah.
And I'd have to keep these 3 people happy. So you have to go because it's easier to remove 1 piece than 3, you know?
For sure, yeah.
And that's always kind of been my issue.
You know what? I think I've always had this like bizarre detachment from pro wrestling, even when I was in it, because I wasn't a fan when I started.
Yeah, I remember you saying that years ago, yeah.
Yeah, well, I wasn't a fan when I actually got into it. I got into it because of video games.
Yeah.
Basically for Christmas, I got a PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
And one of my friends lent me the SmackDown game. Didn't really care about it, just wanted something different to play. And I made a character, and this is cool. You can make a character, you can make yourself, or you can make an avatar for whatever. But then it became apparent that like the other people I'm having my guy fight are real people. Yeah. They exist in the real world, and I can watch them on TV. So I'd like watch a couple of episodes, but I was never really like. I'd imagine if I had never gone to Irish Whip, it would have been like 1 summer or 2 summers I was interested and just faded out.
Yeah,
honestly, like. So what ended up happening on our end, as I mentioned earlier, my cousin Mark Ace Card, he and I had this like idea that we were going to eventually, when we turned 18, we moved to the UK and joined a wrestling school because that was the only place we knew where they existed. And then one just happened to pop up in Dublin about 6 weeks later. And he was like, this one's here, let's go check it out. And I was like, yeah, sure. And he actually went without me. And I was like, fuck. Like now I have to go, you know, and if he hadn't have, I doubt I ever would have done it. You know, so but by his action, it like started this like domino effect.
Yeah, and there was a whole bunch of us there for a while from Scaries and Balbriggan, like a bunch of you and a few of your schoolmates. Like,
that's right. Yeah,
I can't remember their actual names, but they had fucking gas names like Popeye and Sinbad.
Popeye, yeah. But like this is the pan face.
Pan face. That was your cousin, wasn't it? Yeah.
So all the pan face. Yeah, that wasn't even his wrestling nickname. That was just his nickname. Yeah. But the pan, he gets called sometimes, or the jaw now as well. So the point is that as I came into it, there was all these like names people would like be big on, or like things, and no fucking clue what the fuck anyone was talking about. Like I discovered like Ring of Honor and TNA at the same time I was watching WWE. So like to me, AJ Styles and CM Punk and Christopher Daniels were at the same level as John Cena and Brock Lesnar and whatever. Like the only time, so marking out, right? So for people that listen, if you mark out, it's like somebody inside the business acting like a fan to one of the names in the business, one of the celebrities. So you weren't meant to do this. It was very unprofessional. I remember we were told AJ Styles was coming for a guest seminar, and I fucking flipped my lid. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like,
I think I was there, and you literally shouted out, "Oh my God."
yeah.
And yeah, I think you got a few stares over that because it was unprofessional, you know? But
Yeah, but it became
like,
real to me then.
Yeah, but we were like, I was like 2 weeks into training. You must have been about maybe 6 weeks into training because you were there a bit before me. Like, that was a big fucking deal. Like, I'd seen only a little bit of AJ Styles, but I'd read about him in like magazines for ages, and that was cool. Like,
but that's it. Like, it's to try and understand. Like, the reason I'm even mentioning this is that, like, now if somebody goes and joins one of the wrestling schools in Dublin or wherever else in Ireland, right? There's a bit of history there now. There's like 20 years of history, essentially. Yeah. Like, when we were there, that was like day one. There was nothing. There was nothing prior. There was literally no other pro wrestling in Ireland prior to 2002. And we were kicking off in 2004. You know what I'm saying? So maybe there was some bits and pieces here and there, but I'm not aware of it, you know? So
well, there was a history, but it was mostly like lads that had trained either in Carrickfergus with the Finleys or over in the UK, and they came and they like there was shows in Ireland. There was like I remember there was a big Twitter debate a while ago about one of the promoters from Ireland said that there was no Irish wrestling history before 2002, and he was firmly shut down by like older people who really knew their stuff. There was, but there was no like local homegrown scene around the Dublin area.
yeah, that's what I mean.
There was lads that had went abroad and like trained with people in London and stuff, but there wasn't a bubbling scene that wasn't just a tour that had extended past the UK and came into Ireland, you know?
It's a bizarre thing to look back on, the amount of people or the number of athletes that were there that ended up becoming like names for
Jesus,
one way or another. Like, it's really, we really fucked up, didn't we?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
No, but that just brings me around to it then. So you've stuck it out long enough, you stuck into it till this day, if I'm not mistaken. So you've actually had a couple of trials with the WWE, am I right?
I've had, I was there for a week in 2019. They have a performance center in London. And I took a large hiatus from wrestling around 2013 because I just wasn't getting anywhere. And it was kind of, I was at the stage where, not that I'd done all that I could do around Europe, but like really the next step for me would have been to get something of a full-time gig somewhere with a better wrestling scene, because the European wrestling scene wasn't great at the time, but somewhere around America, Japan, Mexico, kind of break into that kind of next level where you can make a full-time living out of it. And it just wasn't happening. And I had a trial for a company in Japan. And going into the trial, it was kind of between me and another guy, a guy from Finglas named Robbie. Good wrestler, very good wrestler, built like a brick shit house. I thought I was a bit better than him at the time. Just without anything else happening, I thought I was a more solid, dependable wrestler. And we're doing this tryout anyway, and we're doing like some drills, and he does like similar to you with the match in the SFX. He does a leap over somebody, and he lands, and as he lands, his hamstring just spasms. Like you can see the thing rippling. Like it was seizing up, and he had to sit out the rest of the training session. And I thought I was quids in then to get this excursion to Japan. It was going to be like 3 months where you get to go to Japan and you live in the dojo, you work full time as a wrestler. And that for me was like the next step up. That was what I needed to do to like, one, to pay off like at that stage, like 8 or 9 years of hard work in wrestling. But two, just to like try and reach that next level and that upper echelon and get out of like just doing random weekends around Europe, you know, and going to like Italy and Norway and random places like that. And did the tryout. At the end of the tryout, there was a show. On the show, I had a really, really good match. I remember one of my coaches at the time, Fergal, who's gone on to become Finn Balor in WWE, and another one of the people who trained with us at the time, Becky, who's gone on to be very successful in WWE. They both came up to me and they said, "Jesus, you were great." Like they weren't saying you were guaranteed, but they were like, "Geez, they must be thinking seriously about you." And about a week after the tryout, I was on Facebook and I saw one of my other coaches who was helping to organize the tryout, saying, "Oh, we've decided who's going to go to the," and he just posted this publicly as a wall post. We decided who's going to go to 01 in Japan, starting in January. And it actually just so happens that I'm having a pint with him now. Congratulations, Robbie Morrissey. And I was just dejected, man. I was like, I was so certain that, firstly, going in, I was very confident because I thought I was more solid. But then I was so certain after he pulled his hamstring that there was no way it couldn't be me now, unless I did the same thing, unless I fucked myself up. And it peeled back the curtain a little bit where I realized that it wouldn't have mattered if he had showed up with 2 legs missing. And if I had shown up and done everything 100% correct and like
He was
always going to go. It was like, it was predetermined that like Robbie was getting the spot, and then the whole tryout thing was just a formality. And I just went, fuck this. Like I'm not spending, like, cause at the time I was unemployed, because any job that I applied for, they were like, can you work weekends? And I was like, nah, I can't work weekends. I have to keep my schedule open to like do a fake fight over in fucking the back arse of Bavaria in Germany if the opportunity comes, you know? And I just said, fuck this, I need to take time away. And I originally planned that I was going to take about 6 months off, and I had qualified as a PT, and I was going to start renting a spot in Ben Dunn gyms and take 6 months to like get a job underneath me, move out of my Maz gaff, like stop being a useless fucker, like get a car, learn to drive, all these things, like, you know, simple things that like I'd kind of not done because I was too preoccupied with like keeping my schedule open for wrestling, you know? And part of the reason as well why I gravitated towards being a PT and working in the fitness field is because I could, if I was self-employed as a PT, one, I was in a gym all the time and I could, you know, get rid of my spare tire that Simon had, you know, pointed out to me.
Very kindly pointed out.
Very kindly pointed out to me.
In front of about 20 people.
This is it. And then 2, I could say to like, you know, my clients, like, sorry, I can't do Friday, Saturday, Sunday because I'm, you know, I'm in fucking Longford doing shows, or I'm flying off to America for a week to do a training camp or whatever, you know? So I decided I was going to pull the trigger on that. And I'm very, sometimes I can be very singularly focused. And I thought if I try and do the 2 things at once, I'll cock up both. So I just said, I'm not going to wrestle at all for 6 months. And I'm just going to focus on the whole PT thing. And then before I knew it, 6 months turned into like nearly 4 years. And I didn't really wrestle between 2013 and 2017. And there was like brief, like flirtations. I remember when you were coaching in the main stage school, around 2015, I believe, you couldn't make a Saturday because you had a day job engagement, and I ended up coaching the session. And like I was never that far away from it, but I wasn't like in that world for a long period of time. And then in 2017, there was a few things that kind of pushed me towards wrestling. I deactivated my Facebook for a while. When I reactivated it, for whatever reason, the only people that were posting were like people that I knew through wrestling. The wrestling scene was going really well. I was walking back from a Bows match one night, and I ran into one of the wrestlers who lives around that area, and he was like, oh, you should come down to training sometime, you know, it'd be good to see you again. And it was just kind of rolling around my head. And at the same time as well, a guy that I was writing some programs for online had just gotten a WWE tryout, Andy Wilde. And we'd kind of geared all of his training towards like being fit and strong and getting noticed by WWE, because he knew he had a shot at getting that tryout. So he wanted to be in the best position possible when he got there. And then I thought to myself, fuck it, if Andy can do it, why can't I? Like, you know, like, so at the start of 2017, I got back training again. And at first I was just kind of dipping my toe. And then I thought, you know what, I'm near 30 now. I'll see what I can get done in the next couple of years, and I'll see if I can get a tryout. I managed to just pull the right strings, shake hands with the right people, get myself noticed by the right companies, put on enough decent matches that around September, it was actually, might have been my birthday. Yeah, it was my birthday. Funny we were talking about birthdays earlier on. It was my birthday in 2019. I got an email from the recruitment section of WWE saying, okay, we're running tryouts at the middle of November, about 6 weeks away. We'd like if you could attend, please, you know, RSVP to this. And it was kind of, personally, it was a massive achievement for me that in the space of less than 2 years, I went from not being involved in the business at all to being considered for a full-time job in professional wrestling, which was as a kid was like my ultimate goal. Like that's what I wanted in out of life, was to be a full-time pro wrestler. So yeah, I went to the tryout. I thought I did very, very well. In true form for myself, I wasn't a 10 in anything. You know, I wasn't a 10 out of 10. I'd call myself a 6.5 to a 7 across the board and everything in terms of like the look, the wrestling, in terms of like the promo, like the gift of the gab, you know, in terms of presenting myself, I would have called myself a 6.5 or a 7 and everything. And I thought I was in with a real shot. And then it just so happened that early the next year, COVID happened, and they completely changed their recruiting policy during COVID, and I kind of just dropped off their radar, which was unfortunate. Like, but I got fairly close. Like, I managed to spend an entire week. That to try it was supposed to be 2 days. thought I did really well over the 2 days. That was kind of confirmed when at the end of the second day, the guy who was organising the tryout, the recruiter, kind of messaged a couple of us and said, okay, everyone else is going home, but if you could you please stay for the next week? We're all going to train. We'd like to see how you fit in with the group and, you know, how you deal with like the day-to-day training that we do here. And so I stayed on from the Sunday then until the Friday when they flew me home, and they were like, well, we'll be in touch. And they did, to their credit, stay in touch and watched any footage that I sent them. And the last message that I got from like the head of recruitment, a guy called William Regal, really nice guy, who actually I had the pleasure of actually wrestling a little bit, and it was like a pinch me moment, you know, because he's like a guy that I grew up watching. It was amazing. The last message he sent me was, not sure what's going to happen after COVID, but just, you know, keep yourself busy, and we'll see. Hopefully there'll be a job here after this all has ended. And it just so happened that he actually lost his job during COVID. They really changed their entire structure. They downsized an awful lot. He lost the job. He ended up working for a different company, doing a completely different role. He's back in that role now, but in the meantime, they've really focused on recruiting like college athletes and stuff, and they're right to do so.
The whole face of that company changed for sure. Like, I mean, even down to anyone that follows wrestling knows, if I'm not mistaken, Vince McMahon, who owned the company, stepped down from his role, and Triple H, his son-in-law, took over. So even internally, the restructuring of the power internally is massive. Like any company coming out of COVID, probably there's a lot of things that changed. Like there's probably a lot of outdated internal things that were probably done away with, and it's probably just like that. Probably people like you just fell through the cracks. But the biggest thing about the whole story, particularly when you talk about your story about Japan and Robbie Morrissey and things that are very, now that you've mentioned it, I remember at the time, and it's the thing that I distinctly remember. It's one of the things. Whenever you're out of pro wrestling for a while and you put back on the rose tinted glasses on how fun it was and how great it was, you forget about the politics.
Yeah.
And it's this ever-present part of it, because to be real, it's not a real sport. This is why I love powerlifting. It doesn't matter if I'm a dickhead or I'm the nicest guy in the world. If I can pull 300 kilos, you can't fucking take that away from me, because I can. Whereas in pro wrestling, it does not matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how shit you are. It matters who you know more than anything else. Now, not to say there are many people who are in top spots that deserve to be there, that they're phenomenal workers, they're phenomenal work rate, or they've worked their way into that position. But there's absolutely an element of, no matter how good you are, if you're not part of that like inner clique and there's no way to penetrate it, you're just not going to be the guy.
Yeah, that's fair. But also at the same time as well, like I've often looked at, if you look at like the top professional wrestlers in the world, like the guys who are undoubtedly top of the food chain, and then you look at the guys who are the absolute dog shit, worst of the worst pro wrestlers. I've always thought that a lot of us, like especially back in the day, were a lot closer to the bottom than we were to the top. You know,
yeah, agree.
And I think sometimes we can get a bit like crabs in a bucket, where we're fighting over like, oh, he's getting a bit ahead of me, now I'll pull him down. Yeah. When in actual fact, he might be getting a little bit ahead of you, but he's got the whole fucking galaxy above his head. He's nowhere near the top at all. So it doesn't really matter if he gets a little bit ahead of you, because ultimately at the end of the day, you're still on the fucking deck, like, you know?
Yeah.
Now, in terms of like, yes, if it's a sport, like if it's powerlifting, if you deadlifted the fucking bar and you get it up there, nobody can take that away from you. If it's football, if you scored a goal, chances are, and you weren't offside, you didn't commit a foul, they're not going to take it away from you. You know what I mean? Like it's proper competition. With wrestling, yeah, you have to look at it like performance though. And I'm sure it's the same in music, in dance, in theater, in everything, where there's that art, that element of like subjectivity, or even in like bodybuilding, you know? Like you're at the mercy of a judge saying like, oh, your pecs don't quite look symmetrical, or oh, you have too much delt and not enough lat, you know? Like it's very, very subjective, and it can be very easy for that to get you down, because sometimes like when everyone is pulling you to one side and saying like, oh, you deserve that spot in Japan, you're a shoe-in for that spot in Japan, and then somebody else gets it, it can get you down. But you've got to make peace with the fact that like maybe the people who are recruiting for that spot in Japan, they thought he was fucking miles better, and they thought, you know what, him pulling his hamstring shouldn't affect. We want that big ginger fuck over in Japan because he has a look, you know, because that was the thing as well. Robbie looked 10 times better than I did at the time.
What's he doing now?
No idea.
He's not in wrestling.
No, he's not in wrestling. No, I'm still friends with him on Facebook and stuff. But I just don't know what he does with his day.
Having a Facebook is you showing your age.
I don't know. Yeah, he's still jacked as far as I can tell. Right? That's the main thing. But like, yeah, he's got a big fucking back tattoo. He looks $1 million. He looks like he'd fuck you up, and he would.
I think I worked him.
Oh yeah,
I have no idea. No
he
idea.
fucking hit like a bus, man.
I think I did. Like I can't remember. You know, after the concussion on the last match, everything else is just a blur.
Fucking Christ, don't get me started on that.
But like, no, like I did. Firstly, I can respect him for the fucking, you know, being modest about the whole thing. Fair enough. Maybe he just was more like what they were looking for. But I'm more saying that I do think politics are this massive element of pro wrestling.
Totally.
Not just like between here and the WWE, but I mean, even on a local level. And you mentioned the crabs in a bucket. I think I would point at some like low level powerlifting. I would point at pro wrestling for this, and I actually use these as like analogies for each other, right? So in pro wrestling, right, even now in Ireland, even though they've cultivated a great batch of wrestlers from what I can see.
Oh yeah,
right. I'm very much tapped out, like, but still I can see that there's people there that are doing really well. It's still nowhere near what it could be if more people were willing to work together and not just assume their vision for what it is meant to be is what it all needs to be. You know, people don't have territory. You know what I mean? Like people can work together and maybe and this is the beauty of it. And this is one thing I think is better about like, say like in powerlifting, different powerlifting clubs, different ways of coaching. The more variance we have, the better because it offers more to more people. It's better if there's more different companies or promotions running because it offers a wider range of shows, more opportunities for the workers and more money being made for everybody, you know? And it's something you and I talked a little bit about. It's one element of pro wrestling I think could be done better is what's the word I want to use? It's cultivate that inner community of the workers and the wrestlers and not just doing what makes you the promoter money, but what can I do for this group of people? They're all ultimately working towards the same thing to create the most opportunities for them. I know now this is kind of skipping ahead, but like you have taken over your own gym at DSC. And I know that community is a massive piece of that. I know you've been in the Bohemians Football Club community for years, and community is the biggest piece of what that is essentially. And I think that's one thing wrestling lacked. It's presenting it as though because there's no real in-ring competition, the competition's all happening in the back, when really it's everyone actually working towards the same ultimate goal. And it's one of the things I feel like they really let themselves down on.
I don't know if I'd necessarily agree with that. I think over the last few years, it has gotten a lot better, especially in Ireland.
Yeah, maybe I'm outdated there.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. Like at the same time, I feel as though that shared community really, really serves the lads that are like the best of the best. You know, it used to be back when we were starting off, it didn't matter how good you were. If you were in Irish Whip, you were in Irish Whip and you just wrestled there. If you were in NWA, you were in NWA and you wrestled there. And then a few lads who were kind of at the top of the food chain in both places started to do a little bit of a crossover. And then it spilled over into like other promotions as well. I think they're a lot better at it now. But it's almost like they have a bit of a league system now where the top lads in these two places will intermingle and they'll still go down to like the lower leagues and kind of have a bit of a roll around there when they're not busy with like the so-called bigger promotions or flying off abroad. And then there's a bunch of lads who were, I don't know, we'd probably call them like Division 1 wrestlers. I almost said lifters there. We'll have like our Division 1 wrestlers who they'll only stick around like the Division 1 style promotions and they wouldn't make it up to the top promotions. And that could be politics because again, it's like subjective because who's to say this guy who's a Division 1 wrestler couldn't really entertain some people in a Premier League show, you know? But I think they are getting better at intermingling.
Good.
And then there's obviously like, if you train in this school, you're going to work on this school's shows, but then we might throw you a bone on these other shows if there's space in the car and we can throw you in there, which is good. Yeah. But you do find it is very cliquish and it is, as you said, it's more about who you know than what you know. And it doesn't matter if you are the best fit for a spot on a show. If someone wants their mate in the car with them, or if somebody wants to wrestle their mate, or if somebody has somebody that they've trained and like, oh, look, he just needs an opportunity, you know? Well, that guy is probably going to get that spot because if this guy here is like a Premier League talent and he's a star and you know he's going to sell you 20 tickets, you want to keep him happy. You want him to do all your shows. So if he says, get me a mate on the show, you're going to get his mate on the show, you know?
No, for sure. And you know what? You very rightly called me out there because I didn't really consider when we first broke in, if you worked for Irish Whip, If you wrestled for Irish Whip,
Irish Whip for free.
yeah, I was just about to say, if you wrestled with Irish Whip, that was the only place you wrestled, unless in Ireland domestically, unless it was abroad. But even at that, there was such a like stranglehold on where you could go and what you could do, and that was just the norm for us. Whereas I suppose that is showing me how outdated my thought process is, because naturally there are workers here, there are wrestlers here that do get to kind of travel around and wrestle wherever they want, as long as, I suppose there probably is a matter of priority there somewhere still. And even in my latter days, I worked with a couple of different groups here as well. So I suppose, yeah, that is probably one way. I suppose I mean more for like, let's say like international visibility or opportunities you mentioned, like with Robbie. Like the reality is, like, again, we don't know, but it sounds like there was never a shot you were ever going to get.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I've made my peace with it now.
Yeah, for sure. It's a long time ago.
It was fucking politics, though. You know what I mean?
Sure,
like
sure,
he was trained. He was originally trained by Paul, the guy who was organising the tryout. He was always going to get that shot. Paul wanted that to go to his boy at the end of the day. You know, it's insulting to call him a boy, but like,
I get what you mean.
Yeah, like it was politics.
But this is the thing. I suppose if anyone, like, look, I don't know how many people listen to this are going to want to get into pro wrestling. Maybe we'll get a few heads turning this way because they see that, you know, Alexander Dean is on it. But what I would say is, I suppose it's probably just an element of the business to be aware of before you get in. A guy that actually, this is just a bizarre thing to bring up, but I'm going to bring it up. There's a powerlifter who messaged me and asked me about, he just wants to get in and do like one match in pro wrestling. He just wants to do it to like kick it off the bucket list. And then like, if it goes well, maybe he'll try to keep doing it. And he was like, what advice would you have for me? And I was like, yeah, man, just be ready for like the fucking politics. Like, you know, it's not a matter, like, yeah, you could show up and be fucking great, but if the guy there fucking runs the place thinks you're an arsehole, you're going nowhere.
If you only also have one match though, he's grand. Like, if you want to make a career out of it, then politics is a major pain in the bollocks. Like, you know, like that. I wanted to go to Japan. I wasn't going to go to Japan because somebody else was predetermined to go to Japan.
Yeah,
that's stifling someone's career. Like, you know what I mean? And as it happened, like Robbie went to Japan, spent 3 months there, didn't really enjoy it that much. Came back home and then kind of just did a few matches here and there every now and again, and then got out of it. Now, if I had the opportunity to go there for 3 months, I might have found that I fucking hated it, or I might have found that it was unreal, loved it, used it then to kick on, like put that on my CV, got more opportunities, and then who knows where.
Still be there now.
I could still be there now, or I could, like, I mean, Sean Brennan was there for 8 fucking years or something like that. He lived in Japan non-stop pretty much for 8 years. Flew back, got a new visa, flew home, got a new visa, flew back again.
Yeah.
Or like a bunch of lads that went out there, like Joe Coffey from Scotland, Jordan, they're all on full-time contracts with WWE now. You never know what would have happened. Or like Robbie, I could have went out and went, fuck this is horrible. And then decided I didn't want to wrestle again. You know, that can happen to people. But when it's a career opportunity, then it's politics. For the guy who messaged you, for example, like if he just wants to have a match, deadly,
I'll put him in touch with you.
Just go out, fucking have a match, smell the like get trained obviously, but go out and have a match and smell the roses. And that's one thing I do now when I wrestle, because I'm not looking at it as a career anymore, because I do believe the opportunity for me to be a full-time wrestler is gone in the last 3 years since COVID. I genuinely just enjoy, like, when I walk out to the ring, just taking in the audience's kind of reaction, whether I'm a good guy or a bad guy, whether they love me, whether they hate me. I enjoy just getting into the ring, and then when it's all over, I stand there, and I go, Jesus, I made 6-year-old Dean proud there. You know, it's one of those things where if you had offered me as a kid one match when I was watching Sky One as a kid, you know, do you want to do that one time only? That's all you get. I would have been like, can I not do it like full time? And you know, no, you get one. You only get one because this is for these different type of people. I would have bit your hand off. I would have said, give me that one fucking match, you know? And that's unreal that I got to have 6 matches the other weekend, 2 a day for 3 days. How unreal is that? And then the thing with wrestling is wrestlers very, very quickly get to this jaded phase where they think it's cool to not like wrestling anymore, you know?
I was only just talking to somebody about this the other day.
Who was it?
We were talking about, so like, this is sorry, I don't want to derail your point. Sorry that the start of my point is interrupting the middle of your.
No, it's fine.
Just the middle of your story interrupt the start of mine. So we were backstage at Irish Nationals recently, and all the lads were like, there was fucking Tiger Balm and Deep Heat and painkillers. Like, fucking hell, lads, we're doing 9 lifts, like, you know what I mean? I'm older than all you fuckers, and you're all acting like you're falling apart, like. And I was saying to one of the lads, this is like a thing in wrestling, the old broken down vet.
Yeah.
You know, you're like 18 months in, you're like, yeah, my knees don't work like they used to work, and I got my elbow, and I've got like 6 concussions, you know? And I think it's that, like, oh, on the road again. You know, you're driving to Waterford, mate.
Yeah.
You know, relax. I remember. I sympathise.
I remember Burridge turning around when he was like just taking over as Irish Whip's head coach. And I can't remember what the context was, but he said something like, "Oh yeah, my knees are fucked." And at the time, he was 23.
Yeah.
23, 24, and he'd been wrestling for less than 6 years.
It was to sound cool.
Yeah, it makes you sound cool if you're old and broken down. But the other thing then as well is that wrestlers like to make you think that they hate wrestling. It's like, I don't even know why I'm fucking doing this. It's like, because you love it, mate. Because you love it. Like the reason why you are getting out of your bed at fucking 6 o'clock in the morning and driving halfway across the country for 50 quid, realistically, in most cases, and to get hurled around it. Go on.
For the first 5 years of my time in wrestling for free.
€0. Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first time somebody tried to pay me, I tried to give it back to him. I didn't know how to feel about it.
Yeah.
I worked for Joey Cabray when he was running NLW, and he came up to me at the end of the first show, and I think it was 20 quid. And he goes, "Oh no, Joe, put that away." And he goes, No, people get paid in these shows. And I was like, No, I just do it for the love, you know. I tried to give it back to him. And he wouldn't take it back off me. What a fucking idiot I was, like.
But that's like fucking straight up conditioning, though. You were conditioned to believe getting paid was like not
absolutely,
a thing.
because we were paying fucking Simon to train, you know.
Man, I got in trouble towards the end of my time there because we ran this like big show, and I saw a few people like leaving with fucking envelopes.
Yeah.
Right. And I promoted the show.
Yeah.
It was in fucking Balbriggan where I lived at the time, right? And I texted you, I was like, "Did you just get fucking paid for this shit?" Like, and Simon chewed me out for it. He's like, "What are you doing texting the lads, harassing them, asking if they got paid?" And I was
harassing them.
Because like, okay, maybe I'm paraphrasing. Like,
but that's something that he'd say.
Yeah. But like, I was like, man, like I'm after fucking like promoting all this, and I worked it, you know? So I thought like.
And they did get paid.
Yeah.
And they were like Irish lads.
Yeah.
And you didn't see a red penny.
Yeah.
See, that's politics.
But that's because you get what you settle for, man.
Yeah.
Like we were all just but that is genuinely what the love of it is. Like we wanted to do it so badly that we were willing to fucking essentially pay to do it.
Yeah.
You know? Like I remember actually once you, and this is like random shit, this wasn't even something I was going to bring. We went to fucking Waterford and I had to like, I had no money. So I had to like bum money off you guys just to eat because I had no food. Like,
was that like for when we did a little mini tour and it was like the Raven seminar or something like that?
Might have been that same weekend. I remember we got McDonald's and then I instantly got sick after.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it was a great weekend.
Were you car sick as well?
Oh, yeah, always. Not anymore, but back then, yeah. But, so I've got two questions, right? Yes. And then I want to try to get a little bit into your fitness stuff and then we'll wrap this up. We've been talking for a while already. Do you think, right? And I think you'll agree with me, you were a little bit of a stinker of an attitude when you started, or at least the no filter thing. Do you think that potentially played a part in some of the opportunities you missed out on?
Oh, yeah.
That you rubbed people the wrong way?
Oh, yeah. I had stuff brought to me like in the last 3 or 4 years of people reminding me of things that I said when I was 16. And like, again, I can remember saying the things, but like it wasn't as, in my mind, when it left my lips, wasn't as damaging as it was when it entered their ears, you know? Like just silly things that you'd say as a 16-year-old, you know? I remember on that Waterford trip, the sus here is, the promoter said to us, Simon said to us, "Okay, whoever wants to come on this tour can come on this tour, but we're leaving now and we'd like you to help. But I can't ask you to help because we're not going to give you any accommodation." I was like, "Fuck, brilliant, a chance to help out. I'll put a graft in. I'll impress somebody." So I got a bus airing down to Waterford, helped out in the first show, literally just like took tickets or sold raffle tickets or something, like, you know, and it wasn't anything that was too involved, you know. After the show then, I'm in Waterford, hadn't a fucking breeze how to get to the next town. There was a few of the lads that had already planned to go to the show that had a hotel room. 2 of them were trainees in the school, you know, and they had said, "Oh yeah, we have a hotel room. We're going to stay here." And I was like, "Oh, can I stay with you?" And then one of them was like, "Yeah, sure." And then the other one was like, "No." And I was like, "Man, I've got nowhere to stay. I'm 16. I'm in fucking Waterford. Like, I just came down here to help out the show. Like, be sound, would you?" And he was like, "No, you're not staying in that room." I was like, "I'll sleep on the floor. I'm not asking for your fucking bed. Like, just give me a bit of fucking space. Give me some shelter, like, you know." And he was like, no way. I paid for a room. I was like, "I'll give you half your room." I was like, "I'll pay for your fucking room. I just haven't got one sorted." And he just wasn't budging. So I just turned around and was like, "Man, I'm going to make your life so fucking difficult when we get back to Dublin." Now, it wasn't like a threat, but I was just like, "You're making my life difficult now. Fuck you." Like, that's the way I thought about it. I was like, "I'm going to make your life difficult when we get back to Dublin," you know? Because he'd be the type of person as well that because I was a bit more senior, he'd come and ask my opinion on things, you know? And at the time, I was really like, "Man, go fuck yourself." Like, like, can't even be like, "I'm going to sleep in the fucking street now because of you." That was the way I was feeling about it, you know? That got brought up to me like 2-3 years ago. Someone fucking posted it online. "Oh yeah, he's a prick. he said he was going to make my life difficult when we got back to him. I was fucking 16. What was I actually going to do? I wasn't going to stab you, you know?
Pull some strings. You'll
Yeah.
never work in this town again.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Where
Like,
did you end up staying?
I can't remember.
But
I
you
honestly
did. You
can't
saw
remember.
it somehow. You
I saw.
didn't-
Yeah, I didn't sleep in the streets. No.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I ended up
But
staying.
that like that's a real like, you know, glaring like this is how Wild West it was.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
basically just show up and hope for the best.
yeah, 100%. And I think I followed the lads around for that entire tour. I remember there was a show in Kilkenny, and there was legitimately nowhere to stay now for this, and they had to send the guy who had the ring van had to bring everyone back to Portlaoise, where they were staying in the promoter's house, and then had to drive back to Kilkenny to get me and another lad in the van and then drive back again. And he was fucking bulling about it. And I don't blame him, because we were essentially tag-alongs, but it was kind of put to us as like, here, if you tag along, like, we'd love you to help, but like, we're not going to fucking help you as like find accommodation or whatever. You can just like stay wherever, you know?
Yeah. And I just want a bit of context here. So again, this is before like Ireland had the main roads that it has now. Like there wasn't a lot of motorways and things, and none of us had smartphones.
No.
You know,
there's no Google Maps. It was literally like text them and tell them we'll be outside this chipper at this time and hope for the best, you know?
Yeah.
And like Manson would have to like find his way to said chipper, like crazy shit.
It's a bizarre. It's a bizarre to look back on, but like that, like yeah, as you say, I suppose words carry weight, and maybe the way you spoke to people did fuck up some of your opportunities along the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, if you
100%.
can learn from that now and take it into your current business, it's probably better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. Like this is the thing, like, unfortunately, time is a great teacher, you know, and you can only learn things by doing the wrong thing. Well, not that you can't only learn things, but the best way to learn something is to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Take the lesson and move on from that. You know, it might have taken me 100 lessons, but I feel like I've finally kind of learned
You're just
it now.
about there now.
Yeah,
Kind of
and-
just seen the other side of it.
Look, even in the last few years, like in pro wrestling, people come up to you and they say, here, can I get your opinion on this match? And in the last 5 years, I only learned to say, well, what did you think of the match?
Yeah.
As my opening question. And then when they start telling me about how much they loved it, I'm like, right, put that in my back pocket there. Maybe it wasn't the drizzling shit. So I won't tell you about how bad it was. I'll just be like, yeah, no, I agree. That sequence was really good. That move looked good. And then if they really press you, just be like, I might tweak this a little bit more. You don't go straight in with the like, well,
Don't go for the jugular.
here we go. I've got some notes, you know, and you don't go straight down the bullet point and rip into them with what they need to change, you know?
Yeah, it's a tough balance, because in one way, I'm actually like, I really don't like unsolicited advice, but I also would look at if I ask for somebody's opinion, I'm opening the door for them to fucking say, this was terrible.
Yeah.
Now, fair enough. I suppose it depends on the individual. And I know like people generally care more about what you say or how you say,
it,
not
yeah.
what you say. And fair enough. But yeah, it's definitely like, I suppose like it's only when we look back over the time and we didn't even get into fucking everything about pro wrestling, but still like it's what a fucking bizarre childhood, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Real weird.
To close the chapter on the wrestling piece, and I'll get a little bit about the fitness, right? Looking now here today, right? Do you think you have wrestled more matches than you will wrestle in future? Is like the majority of them behind you, or is the likely that you'll still keep doing this for a while?
Oh yeah, the majority's definitely behind me. As it stands right now, I work for like one company in the UK for most of my wrestling. It's called Mega Slam Wrestling. I have the opportunity to do way more than I do. Your man that promotes the shows would genuinely have me on every single show if he could, and he would run upwards of, like, one of the lads there wrestled 240 matches last year, and he just wrestled for that promotion. You know, you could do the entire summer if you wanted to. You could wrestle 3 shows every weekend, sometimes do like two matches in every show. I could do a lot more, but one, I really enjoy my work in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
Like I really get as much out of that as I ever have. 2, you don't make that much money wrestling. And I'm at the stage where like I have to think about saving, and I can't be a 40-year-old wrestler who's living off like, you know, £50 bookings every couple of weeks, like, you know. And then the other thing is, like, in terms of like, unless I wanted to move to the UK, the health impact of leaving early on Friday morning to catch an early flight to the middle of nowhere, living out of, you know, the services in the UK, trying to eat semi-clean out of Marks and Spencer's meal deals, getting 6-ish hours of sleep in a fucking shitty hotel for the next 3 days, and then coming back at the last flight out of the UK at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night, and then trying to go to work on Monday morning is just,
it's not
like
sustainable.
like last year was disgusting. Like, you know, it was a really bad year in terms of like my ability to recover, my ability to train. And then things as well, like, you know, your body image, because you're waking up feeling like shit and you're looking in the mirror and you're like, oh, there's a bit more body fat there. Oh, that must be, you know, my lack of recovery, or that must be like the 3 trips to Burger King at the weekend. You know, it's I've definitely wrestled more matches now than I will have in the future.
So do you think then, like we talked earlier on about some of the comments that were made to you when you were quite young, and then there is a constant pressure to look a certain way in pro wrestling. Do you think that has shaped your sense of how your priority on how you look, your physique, all those sorts of things? Has that become like, essentially, do you think it's given you a form of body dysmorphia?
Oh yeah, I will always be fat when I look in the mirror. Like, I will always be like that fat kid, that, because I was a really fucking fat kid. Like, I was obese when I was a kid. I was asthmatic. I didn't exercise much at all because I'd go out and I'd run around and I'd get out of breath and I'd feel like shit. My ma hadn't a clue about nutrition. Like, she just fed me adult portions. Didn't realize there was calories in soft drinks. Just let me drink milk, which then triggered my asthma, which it was a vicious cycle. I was just a big little, like a big fat cunt as a kid. Like, you know what I mean? And then obviously the whole wrestling thing, like, it just got into my head then that like the only way to be accepted in pro wrestling and to get ahead is to have visible abs and to have like neck veins and all these things that like all those guys on TV have, you know? And it just seemed like the people that were around me that were getting ahead, they might have been skinny, but they were ripped, you know what I mean? It was the guys that had the visible abs that were getting all the bookings, and that was like all the rage back then, you know? And then couple that with like, you know, the aforementioned comment from Simon, and in my head I've always been like a fat kid. Like, even now, like, my default is if I get home early from work, I'll be like, oh, can I squeeze in an hour on the bike there? And like, I'll reason to myself, like, oh, bit of zone 2, a bit of aerobic base. But in my head, I'm like, I want to burn a few calories and like, you know, make sure that I don't add any extra adipose tissue. And this is the thing as well, doing an hour of cardio is easier than dieting when you're a fat kid and you're like, your inner crave for sugar is like, give me no fucking cookies, man.
Yeah.
You know, trust a bit of chicken skin there, you know?
You have actually told me about sometimes you've just gone and gotten the bags of cookies.
Oh man, Dunn Stores is fucking dangerous, man. It's worse than crack. Like, that's like 5 cookies in a little like white paper bag, and there's probably about 2,000 calories in a bag of these things. You know what I mean? And they're like £3, and you just pick them up and you get a little pint of milk and you sit there and you watch a bit of Netflix and you munch down there, and then you get the dysmorphia hitting you hard. Then you look at the empty bag and you're like,
why am I like this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I didn't drink until I was in my mid-20s, and I grew up around a lot of drinking as a kid. Like, my ma's husband is a big fucking drinker. Like, my granddad, although I wouldn't call him an alcoholic, he would have drank every night. It was just what blokes did after work back then, because it was fuck all else to do, because nobody had hobbies. Everyone just watched football and drank. And I was always very much like, oh, don't get involved in that drinking game. That's going to be bad for you, you know. But the way I would abuse sugar sometimes would be as bad as like any fucking alcoholic. Like,
right.
I don't know. I've always had a bit of a sweet tooth, and I managed to I was on some very restrictive diets over the years.
I remember.
The eternal pursuit of abs, like the boiled chicken diet, you know, the cucumber fucking diet. Like, you know what I mean? This is sorry, that's misleading. It wasn't just like a diet of cucumbers, but it was like, it was as bland as just eating cucumbers for all your veg, and like just boiled chicken for all your protein, you know, and avoiding carbs like the plague, and trying to live off the ketogenic diet for like a year at a time, and all wondering why like you thought a fucking 60 kilo bench press was heavy and shit like that. You know what I mean? No offense to anybody who does bench press 60 kilos, and it is quite heavy.
In Relevance, Dean was doing this at what, like 90 kilos?
Yeah, it was a big foot. And when your front squat is as much as your bench press, you know something's wrong. Like, you know what I mean?
Something's up there, yeah.
Yeah. So I've been on some very restrictive diets, but then when I started to like get a little bit looser with those, I was like, holy shit! Like, you can eat 3 tubs of Ben and Jerry's and not die. That's amazing, isn't it? You know. So yeah, I even now to this day, if I go on a night out, like, and you know, if I get a fucking pint into me, I'll start being like, we're going to get some ice cream now, you know.
Yeah, it's like a slippery slope.
Yeah, we're going to hit the Mackie D's. It's not even a slippery slope. It's that I get to the stage where like I've had 3 pints and I'm like, yeah, had pints. That's nice. But what I really want is some sugar, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, let's be honest, because I wouldn't be a big drinker. It's actually bizarre, isn't it? We both like grew up in pro wrestling, and neither of us are alcoholics or drug addicts.
Yeah,
that's really weird.
And it's such a thing in pro wrestling, like,
straight up, like.
And here's the thing: you were talking about painkillers earlier on. I remember, must have been 17. It was in the SFX, and that place was torn down by the time I was 18. I was backstage. Drew was there. Drew, again, huge success now, but he was walking around backstage, and Drew's only about a year or 2 older than we are. And he's like, oh, lads, has anybody got a painkiller? was a terrible Scottish accent. And I was looking at him, I was like, mate, you're a kid, like. And I remember consciously in my head on that day being like, I'm never gonna take a fucking painkiller in my life. And I actually haven't. Like, surprisingly, like I've never, like, if I fucking stub my toe or I do a ligament or whatever, I wouldn't take a painkiller, because I'm like, being around wrestlers who are just out of it,
strung out,
yeah, has put me in the mind frame where I'm like, if I get addicted to cookies, man, imagine somas.
yeah,
you know?
Uppers, downers, muscle relaxers, everything.
Yeah.
Wrestlers are on these like cocktails,
Yeah.
and that's not even talking about the peds or the fucking
Yeah.
alcohol. Like, you know, it's bizarre. And like, I suppose now mentioning that, like, you know, like your body image, and then the diets you've tried, and, you know, self-professed sweet tooth. I suppose being now a business owner in DSC, having been in the personal training game for a very long time, this probably helps you resonate more with the people you have coming in. Because I know a lot of the time we get like I would have coached a lot of younger trainers working with Image Fitness, and then I would have seen a lot of them when I worked in FlyFit coming in, and you get these like 21-year-old trainers trying to tell, you know, the man with 3 kids, well, everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. Suppose now, like, you're a fucking grown ass man, you run your own business, you run your own gym, and you've kind of been through the mill with diets and body image. I suppose that gives you much better like empathy for where those people are.
It does, but I still, do you know what? We have another coach in the gym who's really, really good with the nutrition side of things, and I try and leave as much the nutrition stuff to her, because I have like, I don't have a dimmer switch when it comes to diet, and I have a fucking rocker switch, and it's on or it's off. Like, if I'm off, it could be anything. I could be fucking living off like Ben and Jerry's and cookies, and like just randomly stopping to get a coffee, and then I'll just give us 3 fucking almond croissants there, maybe. Like, you know what I mean? It could be anything goes, you know? And then I'll just YOLO it, and I'll just be like, I'll just do fucking 6 CrossFit WODs tomorrow, and I'll burn it all off, you know? Whereas like, she's really good at like meeting people where they are and being like, oh, maybe try this small tweak and that small tweak, you know? Whereas I'm just like, why can't you just live off lettuce? Just get a fucking head of lettuce and just fucking eat it, man. Just throw it in your mouth.
Man, do you know what? I have like this really distinct memory of you eating fucking red
peppers
like
man.
apples.
I was really justified with that recently, though. I was listening to some other podcast, and they were talking about how when you chop peppers, how the vitamin C oxidizes really, really quick. And the best way to eat peppers is to just bite into it and eat it. And I was like, fuck, vindication after all these years. Yeah.
It still was the most bizarre sight, though.
To be honest with you, man, I kind of got off on the fact that people thought it was strange. Like, you know, I used to love going to a football match, and like everyone else was having like cans of fucking Bavaria or whatever. And I'd just crack out like the Tupperware and start eating like fucking chicken and quinoa. And like lads would be like taking pictures and being like, man, what the fuck's wrong with you? And I'd be like, gotta hit those gains, bro.
There was,
you know?
one time I remember you came over and you had that one like circular Tupperware and a whole chicken just stuffed inside it. You're like sliding out this whole chicken. Like, in fairness, right? Like, fair enough, the long-term ramifications might have made you a bit crazy, but like, you definitely started taking training and nutrition a lot more seriously, like, as we got into the early 2010s, like 100%.
Oh yeah.
And do you know what, man? One thing to bring up real quick. Dean is the man that gave me my first ever program.
Oh man, do you know what? I read that like last year, the email that I sent to you, and man, like, I lowballed you so much. I was like, maybe one day you might be able to deadlift 100 kilos. Because it was real, just like you weren't the person that you had been before when you were like, you know, a young, handsome bastard and in shape, you know? And I remember seeing you and being like, oh yeah, shit, he has put on an awful lot of weight.
I think, you know what I think a massive part of it is like, so think about it, like, I'm 16 getting into pro wrestling. And even before that, I'd started like push-ups and squats and things like that. So about 15, and this is now, Jesus, how many fucking years is that? Probably about 6-7 years later. So you're talking, I was like maybe in my early to mid-20s, like mid-20s. So like a massive part of my adult life was being somebody that was in relatively decent shape for a kid. You know, before.
But you were in great fucking nick.
But for being, like, that's what I mean, for being a young person without a gym, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and I suppose though, then it's kind of like, and I know what happens, that's what they say, like, for some people, like 23 is like terrible. You know, everyone could lose their shit at 23. You obviously went the other way. You went up. I just had that like year, 18 months where like, I suppose I was a bit directionless, but like, to be honest, it's probably the one time, like, I wouldn't say like it was ever like, I was never like upset, never like emotional about it, but it was definitely like, I didn't have a plan. Yeah. I've had Ben Crockwell on here a good few times, and that's what he talks about a lot. It's like, lads tend to go off the rails and they get a bit directionless. And I think that was probably the one time I felt like this, when our Ireland was in the middle of a recession as well. Like, I had just come out of school, Celtic Tiger was gone, fucking trying to get my shit together. It was just tough. But I will say that like, it was the likes of yourself and Gary, and to some extent Colin Marin, like, were sound enough to fucking like help prop me up and put me in that position. Like this is what you might remember. You came to me, the day I wanted to go and look at Ben Dunn first to see what it was like, and you came in with me.
Really?
So I'd have someone there. But yeah, because I was like a little nervous about going to the gym the first time. You didn't come with me my first session.
Yeah,
you came in, we had a look around, you were showing, right, that's your squat rack, that's your bench press, you can deadlift there, you do your chin-ups there, you can do this here, you can do that there. Yeah. So you fucking like,
I think I was probably trying to make sure that you actually joined.
but I did though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was probably like a catalyst for me to I got back into pro wrestling then, not long after. I went on to become a qualified trainer. I fucking coach powerlifting now. Vastly superior coach to you now.
100%. I would 100% agree. 100% agree.
But honestly, like that's what I mean. Yeah, just in that one little narrow scope of squatting, benching, and deadlifting. But like that's what I mean. Like it was that catalyst of you giving me the plan that gave me some structure. And like that was probably like, let's say June, May, June or July, I can't remember. But I remember I had a match in October against Damien Corvin on a charity show. I think it was Clondalkin. And man, I looked fucking good.
Yeah, you did. I was on that show myself. Yeah, 100%. You did. Absolutely.
So like it turned around really quick.
Yeah.
You know?
But you've like, I'm not going to take away from your hard graft because you obviously work very hard at your training, but you have some fucking good genes, like, you know?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even just using like powerlifting for context here, like a lot of, there's a thing in powerlifting called dots. A lot of lifters talk about like getting 400 dots. I've had 400 dots since my first competition.
Right.
So that's like an achievement for some people, but that's been the baseline for me since I started.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I'm nowhere near the top of the pack in terms of the guys in my weight cohort. But I'm definitely very, very good.
But I was listening to the Jake Brennan podcast, the last one you released, and you rightly said, like, you're a 34-year-old man who's outlifting lads in their early to mid 20s who have potentially more experience than you and who are also on PEDs.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that is obviously, you're very fucking smart. You're very diligent. You like just execute the fucking plan to the best of your ability every single fucking time. But you have always been fucking strong. And I've like, one thing that somebody said to me years and years and years ago, it's always stuck. It wasn't about you, it was about somebody else. I think it was about Graham Marr. He's a strength coach from Kildare, actually. But look at the size of like your wrists, you know, compared to like most other people. Like you have big hands, you have big wrists, you have a big broad shoulder girdle. Like you're able to bear more weight than a lot of like people who like, you just look at the eyeball test, and like Evan Wallace, for example, like trains really fucking hard, is really fucking strong, but he has a ceiling because he is naturally that like kind of slender, you know, category of person.
Yeah, like he is a physically a smaller person with longer limbs.
Yeah,
so, yeah, for sure. I get what you're getting at. Yeah, but like that's it. Like that was a big turnaround point for me, and it's great now. You've got your own gym where you're providing that for other people. Now, fair enough. Your point now, you're just eat fucking lettuce. But like, I mean, you're still by even just opening a gym and having an environment where there's structured training where people can come and take part in your class structure or your group environment. I've seen some of your posts about it, and I think that has probably been the missing piece for I think it's why CrossFit's so popular. Part of the missing piece for most people in training is a community, is a social group that helps prop you up through those periods of lower motivation or feeling a bit more self-conscious. This is something you can lean into.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think we would have come from a community, political as it may be, in pro wrestling, where we had that kind of shared struggle, shared hardship, and it made us all like a lot closer. Like I'm still friends with you now, a good 19 years after we first met. Same with the likes of like you and Gary. Same with like myself and Colin Marin just recently reconnected. Like it's, no matter how long it goes between seeing each other, you can always just jump back in and reconnect because you have that shared struggle. And rightly so. I think like to a lesser extent, when you're in something like a CrossFit gym and you're in the depths of a fucking horrendous WOD and it's lasting like 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever, and you're all doing the exact same thing to the exact same standard, struggling, all out of breath, all dying, or even when you go and do like a competition or you do a team workout or you do a partner's workout, you do develop a bond with people. And I do think it keeps people, that framework, that kind of enforced community element does keep people on track with their training. And that's one thing that I'm trying to really foster with DSC. We're not like an official CrossFit affiliate, but having previously worked in a CrossFit gym, I do try and borrow an awful lot from that ideology of like the shared struggle and the community aspect that CrossFit kind of enforces.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like that, having that closer knit community is, I think, what will keep people coming back. I know when we look back over pro wrestling, or like as I mentioned for me with training early on, it was having that support network of yourself, of the lads, and like particularly with wrestling, you're basically putting your life in somebody else's hands. It sounds dramatic, but it's true. Like I have to trust that when you pick me up and slam me down, you're not going to drop me on my head. So I think that's, as you mentioned, like you, me, and a couple of the lads have like kept in touch on and off over the course of years, like nearly 20 years.
Yeah. Like I'm at the stage now where you are you are the relationship in my life that I've had the longest, aside from my family.
Yeah.
Like I don't know anybody as a friend that I've known longer than you.
I'm sorry. Look, man, honestly, I agree. Like there is real value in mutual suffering. There's real value in shared hardship. And I think it's why it's important to find like-minded individuals, whether it's for training or for pursuing things together. So I absolutely resonate with that. Here, man, we'll wrap it up there. We've been talking for fucking ages. But thank you very much for coming on.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Have a good one.